Um, yeah, thank you for joining us. So this comes as Wesleyan releases its research, the key financial concerns for female dentists. Can you can you just explain what this is and why this is so important?
That's right. So it was a report that we sent out to a selection of our clients, female clients, to understand what's important to them from a financial planning point of view. We're seeing more and more female dentists come into the industry. So with them being a growing population, we then realised that there was actually no research about what was important to them from their financial planning point of view. And we wanted to do this so that we could learn more to enable us to be able to support our clients better, to have a greater awareness of what was concerning them, so that we could address those issues for them.
Yeah, certainly. This is the first time I've seen something like this. So what we've done is we've gone out to our social media followers and asked them to get in touch and send us some questions that hopefully you might be able to answer. So one of the first ones that came in was, obviously it's quite a topical subject, inflation at the moment, and one of the questions was, how do I protect my savings from inflation?
Okay, yeah. So we are starting to see bank interest rates creep up a little bit since the latest Bank of England base rate increase, but they are nowhere keeping up with inflation. So any bank deposits or bank current accounts, yes, you are going to get a slightly better rate of interest than we've had previously, but they are not going to keep up with the rate of inflation. The best thing to start looking at is alternatives. So what alternatives can you use as an investment to make sure that your funds grow and keep up with the cost of living? One being is investments. And that would be through having a chat with your local financial advisor. Some clients also look at investing in property as well. So there are alternatives there. It depends on what your attitude to risk is and what you want to do with your funds, because both investments and property are long-term goals, really. It's not something that you want to be doing if you need that money in the next couple of weeks or so. But that's something that we can definitely help with.
And do you need a large sum of money to get started with investments?
No, absolutely not. You can do an investment either by a lump sum, say a minimum of £1,000, or a regular contribution to, say, stocks and shares ISA from as little as £50 a month.
Okay, so one of the findings to come from the survey was that retirement is a key priority for female dentists. When should they start planning for retirement, and what exactly should they be doing?
As soon as they start work, basically. The sooner the better, because the younger you are, the longer your timeline is. So if you start planning at like my age in your 50s, you're going to have to put an awful lot of money away to be able to provide you with a comfortable retirement. Whereas if you start younger, it's smaller amounts that you need, because they grow over the course of your working career. So the first thing to do is, for any dentist working within the NHS, is to have a look at your total rewards statement. This is an NHS website which just gives you a snapshot of what your pension would be today if you were going to retire today. Now that can be a little bit scary, because if you're at the beginning of your career, it can seem like a small amount and you think, oh, I'm never going to manage on that. But we can actually predict it to retirement age for you. And we can do this on a regular basis to make sure that there's no surprises and that any plans that you have are on track to do what you want them to do in retirement. So if...
Sorry, Karen, is that website just for NHS pensions, or is that...
It is. It's just NHS pensions. It's not just dentists, but it is just NHS pensions. So it's the NHS Total Rewards website.
Okay. Okay.
And that pulls together the information just about your pension. So it'll tell you which scheme you're in, at what age you can retire, do you get a lump sum or not, how much pension you get. And then we can use that to look at any gaps that might need filling. So for anybody who's looking at working part-time or reducing the hours, obviously that affects your pension. And we can use that to say, right, okay, this is the amount of personal pension planning you need to do to get you to where you want to be.
Okay. Well, one of the questions we actually got asked was the practice that I'm currently working at is moving to private dentistry, moving away from the NHS. How will this impact my NHS pension?
Yeah, I'm seeing an awful lot of that at the moment. I'm dealing with quite a few conversions in our area as it is. Um, it does have quite a big impact. So first and foremost is if you walk away from the NHS altogether, you're walking away from all your NHS benefits. So that is things like, although you're self-employed, you do still get sick pay. Your NHS pension, the contributions will cease and the growth will reduce. You will no longer have death in service. And your maternity pay as well as sick pay arrangements. So all of this needs to be factored in. So if you're going to private, you need to ensure that your earning capability within the private sector gives you sufficient to replace those things that you've walked away from in the NHS. And that is good to do in conjunction with your principal and with your specialist dental financial advisor. Because we can look at it all together and to understand what the private landscape is going to look like for you and what you need to do to put in place to replace those benefits that you've lost from the NHS.
Okay. The next question we got asked was, how can I go about making a transition to part-time or flexi-time? This seems to be, according to your survey results, this is quite a key priority for many female dentists. I think a quarter are looking to go part-time or flexi-time in the next 5 years. So how do they start that transition?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a lot of female dentists are struggling with juggling the work-life balance, juggling the childcare, and it may come to a tipping point where they think, right, I need to do something, otherwise something's going to break. So yes, absolutely. Looking to reduce hours might take a little bit of planning because it depends on what your financial circumstances are. If you can afford to drop your hours and to drop your income and still live comfortably, then that's fine. That's quite easy to do, but not many of us can do that. Not many of us can afford to drop our income. So it's looking at the opportunities that you've got to reduce the hours but maintain your standard of living and to maintain your income. So that might be where you start to train in a specialist area. So you might start to train in oral surgery or dental implants or something like that. So that if you do reduce your hours, you can reduce your hours but move into a more specialised role that will pay more and allow you to still continue earning what you're used to, but for a fraction of the time at work. A lot of female dentists, a lot of dentists across the board, to be honest, are looking at facial aesthetics. That's a really up-and-coming area. And again, that is something else that you can do to assist you moving away and reducing your hours. Some dentists that I've spoken to have changed completely and moved from being self-employed to being employed and taken on roles either at a university or in the community, or even just switched roles altogether. So there are lots of options. It's just planning before you actually take that leap as to, if I go down this route, if I go down the facial aesthetics, how much more can I earn? How many days do I need to work? Is this right for me? Or if I train to become a dental specialist in oral surgery or implants, that's going to take longer. But it might give you a lot more flexibility going forward.
Of course, and that might be a bit of a scary leap at first, but and I assume it might take some investment initially before you can make that transition. So therefore, it requires some planning, some foresight before.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And do you know, there's nothing wrong with talking to your principal as well, because if you specialise in an area, that's another string to your bow that might bring in additional clients to your principal's practice. So they might be able to help you with that transition. They might be able to help you with the cost of that transition.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so the next question that came in was, I'm the main earner in our household and finding it too much to juggle the household, children and work, but can't see a way to cut my hours while still bringing in the income that we need. What's the solution?
That's a really difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It kind of leads on to what we've already talked about. But I think first and foremost is, if there's a partner, sit down and talk to your partner. And explain to them the pressures that you're feeling, because they might be oblivious. They might not realise that you're struggling, because so many of us do such a good job of coping. We're a bit like that swan, where everything's calm on the outside but you're paddling away underneath, and even your partner might be oblivious to that. So first and foremost, have a chat as a family. See what you can do to support each other more. See what you can do around both your careers, so not just yours. It doesn't have to be on one person's shoulders. You might be able to tweak both your careers to the advantage of your family as a whole. And then if you still want to cut your hours, it's basically what we said before, is looking at alternatives that can help you do that, but help maintain your income. Even I think it was 7% of dentists on the survey said they would leave the profession altogether. And that might be something that you have to consider. It doesn't mean to say that you failed in any shape or form. It just means that dentistry is no longer right for you, and that you're going off and you're exploring something else. But I would say, absolutely, as a family, have a chat first and foremost, and don't take this all on your shoulders, on your own. Because your partner might actually come up with some great ideas. They might have been thinking about that. They might have been waiting for you to say, I can't do this anymore. And you'll come to some agreement yourselves. You may be able to reshuffle some of your finances, or you may be able to reshuffle some of your childcare arrangements just to reduce those costs.
Absolutely, yes. So looking to the future, a quarter of female dentists were say they're looking to own their own practice. How can they go about planning for this and preparing for it?
Okay, so to prepare, first of all, I would say start saving, if that's what you want to do. There are some great support out there from a lot of lenders, because dentistry is a very attractive proposition to lenders. It's a very stable industry, but you need to have a deposit, because you need to show your commitment. Now, those deposits aren't massive, like a lot of dentists probably think. It could be as small as 5%. And the financial support that's out there is really phenomenal. So the best thing to do is to shop around as well, to see what support you can get. Also, try to step up at work. It is a big transition from being an associate to being a practice owner, because you're going from being a self-employed dentist, just looking after yourself and your patients, to now being responsible for everybody within that practice. So if you can, have a word with your practice owner and say, this is my career path, this is what I'm looking at, this is what I'd like to do in the future. Can I step up and take on some more responsibilities, maybe when you're on holiday? That'll give you the insight to all of the paperwork and the background things that are done as a practice owner to help you make that decision. Is that actually going to be right for you? Or are you one of those people that just goes, no, I'm not into all that paperwork, CQC reports and stuff like that. That's not for me. But if it definitely is, main thing is save up for your deposit. Just keep an eye out, see what practices are up for sale. Sometimes you hear from friends and colleagues, and don't be afraid.
So you mentioned 5% deposits, but obviously that's quite a big financial commitment that you're taking on. Sometimes those repayments can be scary. So again, that might require some planning, some discussions beforehand to work out repayments.
They can, yeah, and it's not like looking at purchasing your own house, because that's like another major financial commitment. Because when you purchase your house, the money to pay for the mortgage comes out of your earnings, and it's based on you as an individual. When you purchase a practice, it's based on the practice. So you've got to realise and to start thinking a different way, in that it's the earning potential of the practice as a whole, not just you. So having a look at the accounts, running it past your accountant first, because they can do projections to see how affordable the business is going forward and if it's a good investment. And realising that, yes, you might have really big loan repayments, but you've also got a large earning potential, because it's not just you, it's you plus all your associates and your hygienists that are working with you. So there's not just one income stream coming in. Plus you've potentially got a contract from the NHS, or you've potentially got things like practice plan, where you've got payment plan money coming in for your private customers. So it is a different animal altogether. The best thing to do would be to sit down with an agent, like Christy, somebody like that, who's selling properties, your accountant and your financial advisor, and say, look, this is what I'm looking to do. And they will bring all their expertise to the table and assist you in moving forward in the right direction.
Okay. So the next question we got, I think there's a running theme with inflation at the moment, but the next question we got was, I'm an associate at a private practice. Our cost of living has gone up and so has the practice fees, but not my wages. How can I overcome this?
Right, it depends on what you get paid per UDA, so there is a slight difference between practices, but not a huge amount, to be honest. It'll probably vary by a couple of pounds per UDA. There's not a lot we can do about that. That is driven by the NHS and the NHS contract. The only thing that you can do is to look at alternatives within the profession, so the aesthetics, looking at specialising, doing an Invisalign course, things like that, where you can diversify and add more to your bow, so that you can do different types of work that can potentially bring in more income than what you would get solely from NHS. You know, the only way forward is adding a bit of private work in there, to be honest.
Okay. So if dentists are concerned about their financial future, what should they be doing now?
Any concerns, absolutely have a chat with your specialist dental financial consultant, like myself. And what we will do is we will put plans in place for you based on your specific situation and your goals and your dreams. And that can be short, medium and long term. And then the most important thing to do is to review those plans regularly, just to make sure that the trajectory of the plans is still correct, and still on track to do what you want them to do. It might just be a conversation. It might be that you don't have to do anything just yet, but it's good to be in an informed position. And at Wesleyan, that's what we do with our clients, you know, on an annual basis.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Thank you for your time. If anybody watching has any more questions, first of all, where can they download the Wesleyan survey, and how can they get in contact?
So the Wesleyan survey is on our website, so they can download it from wesleyan.co.uk. They can also get in contact off our website. So each advisor has an area, so I work in the northeast. So if you put your postcode in, it will tell you which advisor is your local one, and it will give you their contact details, so email and mobile number, because we're all home based. I'm also on Facebook, so I'm under Karen Watson, financial advisor on Facebook, and we also have our Wesleyan Instagram pages and Facebook pages as well. But the Wesleyan website is the first protocol. There's so much information on there.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Karen. I'm sure there'll be lots more questions, but we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.